Disclaimer, we'd like to note before the start of this interview that the opinions about to be expressed by the guest on tonight's Gettin Salty Experience podcast are that of the guest and do not directly or necessarily reflect the views of the host of the Gettin Salty Experience podcast.
Put the fucking fire out!
You're listening to the Gettin Salty Experience podcast.
Hello to everybody. I ain't going through names tonight. Welcome back to the Gettin Salty Experience podcast. We got a humdinger tonight. We got some legends coming on. You know, like you had the you say first ballot Hall of Famers, right, Guns?
Yeah,
heavy hitters. We got the senior dude, Joel Kanasky, and the Hash Man.
Big summer blowout.
The big summer blowout.
It's a big summer blowout because the fall's right around the corner.
Fall is right around the corner. So we're gonna get into all Rescue One things there are to talk about. Oh, new member. Thank you. Don't forget the membership. I finished the Fire Patrol documentary. Mike queued it up. That'll be coming up. Get on there. $4.95 a month. Become a member. That's all I got to say about that. It helps the cause. And a special shout out tonight for my boy sitting up there in the top left corner. It was his birthday yesterday. Big Roofy. Happy
39.
birthday to my friend of 43 years. We'll just play this really quick.
If you follow the smoke from a Sicily to Porsa 103, where the fire is a king, when you see him, you must sing. When you buzz through the door of some 80-year-old broad, that's Refrano. When you pee on Coop's hood and you're just misunderstood, that's Refrano. When you skip on BI and the chief asks you why, that's Refrano. When you yell at the chief and get lifted so brief, that's Refrano. When you're berated by Karen in a hall that's so barren, that's Refrano. When you take your big bow and shoot innocent doe, that's Refrano. And remember, also no subseller.
Happy birthday, buddy. Happy birthday.
Yeah,
Missed that, Petey. He was a good singer.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's get into the commercials. We got to get our guys in here really quick tonight. We got a lot of stuff to talk about. All Rescue One.
All right. So we're gonna do New Jersey Fire first. We'll roll right down the line, and then we'll save our new guy for the end. But here, let's do New Jersey Fire.
Established in 1930 and under the current ownership since 1987, the New Jersey Fire Equipment Company handles a complete line of fire department equipment and supplies. Headquartered in Greenbrook, the company operates full 3M Scott service facilities in Ridgefield Park and Toms River, staffed by 10 fully authorized Scott certified technicians with a fleet of 6 fully equipped service vans. All New Jersey Fire technicians and sales representatives are active or retired firefighters, officers or chief officers, career and volunteer. They understand the business and the importance of their work. New Jersey Fire has represented Scott since Earl Scott entered the SCBA business at the end of World War II. Among other leading manufacturers represented by New Jersey Fire are Globe and Firedex Turnout Gear, Mercedes Hose, Task Force Tips and Akron Brass, Hygenol, Firehooks, Arctic Compressors, MSA Carnes Helmets, ChemGuard Foam, Alkalite and Duo Safety Ladders, BA Face Shield Protectors, Truckman's Choice Saws, Grove's Gear Racks and Washer Dryers, Supervac Fans, RPI, Streamlight, and many others. A New Jersey incorporated and based company, sales and service are limited to the state of New Jersey. Find us now at www.njfe.com. That's www.njfe.com.
All right, here we go. On with tough.
Firehouse floors take a beating. Rigs rolling in, gear drop down, chemicals and spills every single day. That's why departments nationwide are choosing Armor Tough. Armor Tough epoxy floors are built for fire stations. Slip resistant, chemical resistant, easy to clean, and tough enough to handle anything the job throws at them. It's more than just a floor. It's a safer, sharper, and more professional foundation for your house. And here's the bonus. Armor Tough is an authorized dealer for Groves. So if gear racks, PPE extractors, or dryers are what you're after, you'll find them here. Heavy discounts apply for Gettin' Salty listeners. So install an Armor Tough floor and get Groves products at dealer cost. Armor Tough, built for firefighters, built to last.
Excellent.
All
and
right.
I also wanted to mention really quick. I had the picture there, guys. I think you might have erased it. Kenny Marino's daughter. Kenny was a good friend of Louis. I knew him. He was here in Long Beach. He was fine with Louis 117. Went to Rescue 4. Then he went to Rescue 1. His daughter got married. Beautiful girl. And Rescue 1 turned out in force at the church, I believe, right?
They actually, I'm glad you brought that because I actually saw that today and I made a note of it that the current and retired firefighters escorted her from the hotel to the venue, sirens blaring in old good New York City style.
Yeah, that's what the brothers do, man. Rescue 1. Great job.
Marino. Yeah, that was glad I didn't know you had that in there. My mistake, but
that's okay, buddy.
I was going to mention it. That's
okay. No worries. All right. Ruff, do your thing. Gonzo and Ruff. Take it away. Bring in the legends.
It's going to be rapid fire, Gons. You ready?
I'm just going to keep the applause going.
All right.
Big summer blowout.
Big summer blowout. Senior man. Hank Molle. Wally, the living legend. Hashagen. And Joel Kanasky out in the islands.
Woo!
You're going to give him the girls.
He gets the girls.
Mustache. He gets the girls.
Yeah. He gets the Tom Jones to throwing panties at him. Woo!
Excuse me.
Nice. All right, quick before we dive into Rescue 1 stories, let's go patriotic.
Yes, sir. All right, here we go.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, being all things Rescue 1, if you have any questions that you want to ask these legends from Rescue 1, shoot it out there. We'll put it up there because I have a bunch of questions. We're going to go round robin. I'm going to start off with when they got there. Joel, November of 98, got to Rescue 1 from 17 truck in the Boogie Down Bronx, correct?
Yes, sir.
Excellent. Hank Molle, Senior Dude Molle, July of 86, coming from Ladder Company 132 in Brooklyn, eye of the storm. Now, I couldn't get an answer out of Paul. He told me 1492. I don't really believe it was 1492, but what year was it, Paul?
February of 1983, and I transferred over from ladder 25.
Ladder 25. All right, my first question. I don't know how you want to do it. I'll go from right to left.
Your right or my left?
We'll go Hank first. We'll go why Rescue 1 and not another different rescue.
Okay. Why Rescue 1? Well, I guess one of the major factors was I had a very good friend in the volunteers in Truck Company Number 1 out in Freeport, Long Island, that I worked with, and his name was Paul Hashagen. And he was already he had already gone to Rescue 1. I knew when I got on the job that eventually I was going to work towards getting to a rescue company. And being in 132 in that area of Brooklyn was, for me, great. I couldn't have asked to go into a better spot to learn how to be a firefighter. I guess to go to Rescue 2, and having to run in with 132 all the time, I think it would have been tough mentally for me to see the guys that I loved and that I worked with there. And knowing somebody in the other rescue one like Paul helped me make my decision. And I also thought to become more of a well-rounded firefighter. I felt like a pretty good ghetto firefighter. I had been to plenty of brownstones and tenements and apartments and commercials, but I wanted to see what more New York City had to offer as far as buildings and what I could learn. So Rescue One seemed to be the right choice. So Hash had obviously put in a good word for me with the captain, which never hurts. And I went to see Captain O'Flaherty, and eventually I got called and was able to get there in July of '86.
All right. Over to you there, Double L. Paul.
That's living legend, Paul.
That's a good idea. Well, yeah, I guess I always had it in the back of my mind to get to a rescue company, like Hank said. And I went into the job really with no direct place to go to, no borough in mind, nothing, just Proby School. I was happy to be there. And I got asked by one of the instructors. He said a former officer that he worked for was looking for guys and he would recommend me and would I go there? And I said, sure. And then all of a sudden I'm in the Upper West Side of Manhattan at 74 Engine. And I was just happy. Then after being in the engine a while, you're looking to go to the truck. And then I kind of always had in the back of my mind since I was a little kid, Rescue One, just because my grandfather had mentioned them when I was little. So that was the objective.
Rescue One it was.
Yeah.
How about you, Joel?
I think, being a fireman in a couple other places, I just wanted to go to the big city and to the real rescue company. Not only fires, or everybody goes to fires, but they got to do a lot of cool jobs. I mean, the rescue jobs were amazing. The shit that was performed by some guys was just berserk.
Yeah.
Was one always on your radar, or did you think about another one? Or
no, I mean, it was the same thing with Hank. I mean, being in 17 truck, the Rescue 3 was in with 17 and 60 initially. A lot of the original guys from 17 started in Rescue 3. And, it was tough being in the Bronx, because it wasn't looked upon well. It was a pride thing. So I think one was a good place for me. And like I said, going to a big city rescue was the key. Plus, Paul was there, and everybody loves Paul.
It always gets back. Life of like a circle. Always gets back to Paul. All right, so we'll lead this question off with Paul. In Rescue One, now we're talking about the most incredible. Meaning, like you look at a guy and say, "That's probably the best firefighter I've ever seen." In Rescue One,
You say Gonzo, it's okay.
One guy. Wow.
That's what Hank said. It's hard to narrow down to one guy, but was there one guy where you looked at him and said, "Holy shit, that guy is it"?
No, because
if I'm somewhere, I want him coming to get me.
I can't say honestly one guy, because especially when I first got there, if I just line up the old guys when I walked in the door, they started at like 6'5" with Bill Bestman, and then slowly worked their way down to Angelini, who's about the size of a marionette, compared to them. Yeah. And any one of those guys on any given night, would just absolutely amaze you. Especially when you're a new guy, when you go there, I was always impressed by the quiet guys. There was a couple of brash guys, not too many, but there was a couple of brash guys in one when I first got there. But I just liked the demeanor of the place. The senior guys, there was no nonsense. You pulled up to a fire. Bill Bestman told me, not exactly, but something along the lines of, be a little bit like the Lone Ranger. Don't be telling everybody what you do. Just leave a silver bullet behind and then go home and let them talk about it later. And, for the most part, that's how it was. And we got along fairly well with people. I totally understood, one time I'm with you guys, one of the things that happened to me, I was working with Bruce in 74 Engine, and they put Rescue 1 in front of us, and then they put Rescue 4 in front of us. And I'm like, what are you doing? But by the same token, you know, these are all seasoned guys coming. And if I have something that's really nasty looking, and, you know, for a chief, you're standing there watching a subway emergency exit that looks like the top of a chimney, you're not looking to send a probie down there with his friend who's brand new. You know, it's here come the seasoned guys, send them down. So, yeah, it's understandable. And realistically, there was no one guy. It was just that roster of guys sitting on that back seat, that sideways back seat in that truck, and looking on both sides here. A little bit intimidating at times,
I would say. What about you, Joel? Any one guy for you, or the same?
Yeah, I mean, they were all amazing. You know, when you think about some of the hardcore guys that were there, like I said, Little Joey, Gary Geidel, and you talk about a tough dude. He'd punch you in the head just for the sake of punching you in the head, I think. And, you know, but and then boss-wise, I think Old Man Morris was probably one of the most enlightening fire officers I've ever worked with. You know, he always seemed to have that little knack that some guys had.
Right.
You know, in the right place at the right time.
Right time, yeah.
Never talked about himself.
And executed every time.
Yeah, never. They said just all good guys, and like you said, like Paul said, sometimes you were sitting in the back of the rig, and if you were in the irons or in the hook, and you looked to either side of you, it was always amazing to go like, what am I doing here? You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How about you, Hank? Oh, look at these guys. Who we
While you guys are chatting, I'm just going to try to find some old time pictures. While you guys
I'm gonna say, what they both just said. This group that you have up, that I had the pleasure of working with,
John Moran is in the top corner there.
Exactly.
Right?
John was probably the junior guy in the company at that point when he got there. We worked in the same battalion in Brooklyn, but you know, that group was, I'm going to say, the junior senior guys of Rescue 1. You know, the Joe Angelinis aren't in the picture and the Bill Bestmans, but these were all guys that came from busy places, had a lot of fire experience, and you felt good working with them, just as you did with, I mean, the senior guys, you just, you felt like they were all Supermen. You know, I know it sounds redundant, but you just felt that any job that the chief could throw at you, you felt like you could handle with the guys. If I had to single out a couple of single people, I would have to say my lieutenant, Steve Cassani, was probably one of the most knowledgeable rescue guys that I worked with, and super calm. The shit could be hitting the fan anywhere, and he always was calm, and he kept all of us calm, and he was always very concise with his orders. He knew what he wanted, you know, what he needed you to do, explained it, and you did it. And that's how the officers were. And as far as super firemen, you know, I mean, I can remember, I guess if I had to single out one thing, I was working with the captain one day. We had a job on the Lower East Side. I think I'd gone to a second alarm. And one of the Lower East Side engine companies was moving in, and they were hitting fire, but it was circling around the apartment, and it was coming back at them. And we were bringing a line up behind them, and I think it was Jackie Boyle and I had the line. And all of a sudden, this fire just blew out the door over the line where that engine company was. And O'Flaherty, the captain, I mean, the fire was down to like 18 inches on the floor, 12 inches. He just, without hesitation, dove into that, under the flames, on, you know, to crawl to their line, so to try to help them and turn the line around so it didn't engulf them. And then, you know, we followed him in. But, you know, watching him do that, I was like, holy shit, I can't believe I just saw him do that.
Yeah.
You know, that would have been, if it was somebody else's turn to do that, they would have done it. You know, they were just very seasoned professional guys.
So next man up mentality.
Yeah. John, throw up 43.
You got it. Boom.
That's Cassani on the far right.
Okay. I was kind of just trying to take a stab at it, but
Right. And Bill Bestman, our senior guy with he stole somebody's Proby helmet.
I was saying, who the hell is that? He is a big dude, though, man.
Yeah. And if you look,
Angelini's standing on something taller.
He's on the curb. He's on the sidewalk.
right.
Oh, that's
That's
freaking
fucking
funny.
great.
And just so we got to mention in the middle of that picture is Bruce Newberry. Bruce was also a member of Freeport Truck Company with me and Hash, which are standing right next to him. So the three of us were all volleys in the same house on Long Island.
How come we never had Bruce on?
Bruce doesn't do computers.
No,
No, not really.
we'll send somebody there.
I tell you what, we'll leave Joel out for 1 second. Throw up number 30.
What am I looking at here?
That's like the
That's the
volley
volley house,
thing.
right? The volley house.
That's the beginning of the bucket brigade. We're
I'm
running.
gonna say
toward-
Firematics type of thing.
That's you in the middle, Paul?
That's me in the middle, and you a little bit behind me.
Oh my God, that's Hank running in the back there.
Yep.
I don't see Hank. Where is Hank? With the mustache?
Yeah, with
Get
the
the-
mustache.
The one all the way to the right, closest, obviously.
Yeah, we were the guys going up on the ladder. We had to run up the ladder to get the buckets.
Is that Coops leaning up against the fence without a shirt on?
Oh, good one, bro.
Oh God, yeah,
That's what we're doing on our days off to stay in shape.
I
Right.
see.
That's some funny shit. Really quick. Can you make that out? That was
Is that you?
That's me doing my Firematics back in the day. I was a hydrant guy doing the Firematics.
Hydrant guy.
Nice.
Sorry.
Yay!
Oh wait.
in full turnout gear. Come on.
Come on.
Yeah.
All right, so
Come
who's
on.
up? Joel's up. See that we're talking about this, man. Your favorite Angelini story.
Oh, well, there's one I can't
Angelini
tell.
story.
I know there's probably a couple you can't spell.
Whoever had the irons had Joey duty. So when we were like, I don't know, we were in the back floor above or something working, and the boss is calling Joey, and he's answering his radio by shaking his head, but he's not pushing the button.
You can see that.
And at first I was like, okay. And then we get down to the street, and somebody's boss says, "You didn't answer me." And he goes, "I was answering you." And I couldn't say a word. Couldn't say a word.
You want to throw him under the bus, bro?
Never.
No.
I think the one that sticks out for me, and I had a lot of them because I got there when I was new. Joey had been there a while, I guess 5 or 8 years before me. And because he did 20 down in Ladder 1, 19 or 20 years down there. And they were one of only 2 tower ladders. And they went everywhere. And he always told everybody he never went to fires. He went to more fires than anybody ever did. And in Midtown Manhattan, they had a fire in a restaurant. And they sent me out to get the thermal imaging cameras, brand new, that Navy one, the round one we used to have.
Bullard.
With the vest. No.
And as I come back, the chief thinks this is going to put the fire out for him or something. Well, put the fire out was Joey took the line and went into the duct and was crawling along inside the duct and with the line. And you just see the line go up into the hole on the side of the duct for the clean out. And there goes Joey's boots as he goes in. So that was him, Anywhere he could stick his head, he would do it.
Right.
How about you, HG?
I had the job. I think Joey got a medal. It was a tenement. It was nighttime by the Queens Midtown Tunnel, and I think Joey had the OV, and he went up the fire escape into the room. Everybody's off doing whatever position we have, and the next thing, first off, hearing Joe on the radio is, like Joel was saying, is kind of uncommon, but you hear the mic, and he's I'm trying to remember exactly how he said it. I don't even think he said like OV to rescue. I think he just said, you heard something on the radio, I got a babe. And and Cassati knew it was Angelini. Where are you? So he was making his search, and he found this unconscious female, and he was dragging her out. But that was his radio transmission. I got a babe.
I got a babe.
So, and he got and not only did he got a babe, he got a medal because it was a really good rescue. So,
oh man, yeah, we went there the next day. You saw the job. The carpet was on fire. He went up on the stairs.
Yeah. So
tough piece of work, man.
Mhm.
Tough piece of work. And he used to make believe he was dumb, but he was actually very, very smart man.
Yeah. And
A lot of fun.
right. And Paul, I think you were the one that came up with the. But he never worked 24s. So
Right.
in between his night tours, you got 9 hours. So he would always be the last guy out because he didn't want to miss anything.
Right.
And then he would take the train, Long Island Railroad, and I think Paul had come up with this story. He would have his wife meet him at the Lindenhurst train station with 2 folding chairs. She'd meet him. They'd have a thermos of black coffee, a couple of packs of cigarettes, and then he'd get back on the train and come in for the night tour again. That was Joe, because that was him in between tours,
Classic Joe.
A lot of coffee, a lot of cigarettes, even when he worked.
Oh, all the time.
Yeah.
Endless.
He'd be waking up from the bunk, lighting up a cigarette. I mean, that was Joe. Joe was Joe, man.
American cheese on white bread with mustard.
Yep.
Greatest Italian delis in Manhattan. We go and he'd have American cheese on white bread with mustard.
like a depression sandwich, It was like,
He had me drive all the way down to the Grand Street Deli to buy that. I said, Joe, we could have got it next door. Yeah,
Could have got it at the bodega.
Guys, talking in the chat that obviously everybody knows his grandson got on the job. He's in 155.
Oh, that's wonderful, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's in a viper's nest over there in Queens.
Yeah.
Right?
Good spot. Yeah.
Crazy.
Where did he come from? What company did Joe come from?
One truck.
Power Ladder
Oh,
One.
he said
That's
that.
what Hash was
Power
saying.
Ladder
He was in
One,
one truck.
Right.
Did a career there and decided to move.
How many years did he have on before he went to the Rescue One?
Over 20, right? When he went to 1, it was 20, right? 21 years he got there?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
21 years in one truck.
Yeah,
Wow.
and then he did another 20 with us. And
It takes his time before he makes any. He didn't want it to be too brash,
yeah, somebody in the chat asked Joey. I did a little version of Joey, I think, in one of the windows smoking a cigarette.
Oh, that's what I was going to ask you
On the
too.
wall, yeah.
What was his character on the wall? He was smoking a cigarette.
I didn't zoom in on that, but I do. If you go to 50,
Yes, I have. Yeah.
there's Hank.
Cleaning. He's got the broom, right? Yeah.
Yeah, he's got a little cleaning. He's got a hook that has a broom attached to the bottom of it. So this way he can pull ceilings and clean up after him.
Who's got the dolphin?
That's Kevin Shea saving the whales by rope.
Oh,
And now he shoots them.
yeah. Now he's shooting. I don't
He's a big
understand.
hunter. I talk to Kevin quite a bit, actually, all the time. Not all the time, but
too.
That's
every once
good.
in a while.
If you hit 52, that's Joel.
The professor.
Wow, Professor.
Man, you predicted his mustache very well. Very nice.
Yeah, kept tradition.
That's pretty good.
Why they call you the professor?
I had no idea. I had no life but the fire department. That's why.
Oh, all right.
He was bookish, but he was reading catalogs. I'm reading novels. He's reading catalogs, training manuals. But that's what makes the firehouse work, that everybody's actually a little different.
Right. I walked out the door. Joel might have even taken my spot, but I heard from guys that were there. They said he was the smartest guy in Rescue One. So I figured that's why he was the professor.
Uh-oh.
Wow.
Yeah, there you go.
It's not even
Amen.
self-proclaimed. So,
Now, whose spot did you take, Hanky?
Whose spot did I take when I got there? That's a good question.
That's why Joel said so. Joel's smart.
I'm trying to remember who
Smart.
left. No, it wasn't
He
Barry,
wasn't there
because
at that
Barry
time,
was
I
still
don't
there. I honestly don't know. Maybe who took Pat Hyland's spot? Was that Bruce?
Yeah. That's funny. That's a good historical one. I took Patty Hyland's spot because he went to Hawaii to go in the triathlon. He took a year off, and I took his spot. And then he came back, worked a little while, and got hurt. And then Bruce took his spot. So both of us got to Rescue One on the same guy.
nice.
That's allegedly. Something's mysterious there.
It's a fugazi. It's a fugazi.
Yeah.
Yep.
What the hell? I just have another question.
You know who you took, Joel?
Maybe Neil, I think, was the one that left right when I got there.
That could be, yeah. Yeah, that's about right.
Because Neil, I think, was there and not there.
Yeah, and then he went over to TAC, was it?
I think so, TAC.
And he spent a long time. My God, he stayed on the job a real long time.
Yeah, I think he did 40 plus too.
Yeah.
I saw him a couple of years ago at Squad 288 9/11, and he was driving. He might have been driving the chief.
Yes, he was driving the chief. Yeah,
I think that was his last year. But yeah, he put on a ton of years.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah,
Double
good
career. We knew that you knew Paul, right? But what was your hook to get into Rescue One? We'll start with Hank.
I mean, Hash was my hook. Also, I think the captain, Captain O'Flaherty, was from Ladder 102 in Brooklyn. So I think he had an affinity for guys with Brooklyn, from Brooklyn trucks in that area. You had, 132, 105, 102. So he liked the fact that I was coming from that area. And I believe one of my lieutenants in Ladder 132 was friends with O'Flaherty, had worked with him in Brooklyn. So I guess between Hash, my lieutenant, and coming from that area, that probably helped me get my foot in the door.
How long did you wait?
I didn't have to wait a real long time, but I think I got bumped by two guys that I think because I think Ray Brown, didn't he get there right before I did? And his old man was a fireman in Rescue One, and he was a chief in the 5-7, so he had more clout than me. And then I thought I was the next guy up, and then Ronnie Buca showed up, and his father-in-law was a chief on the job, involved with the burn center, I think with Bubble Nose Curran.
Right.
So they had clout, more clout than I did. So I think I waited less than a year, but maybe between 9 months and a year before I got called.
Mm-hmm.
But, you did the onion skin first.
Right.
I mean, once I was there, I didn't wait that long on the onion skin. I think about 3 months when the captain called me up and, said,
put your paper in?
What was that? What do you think? Do you want to stay? And I said, yeah, I'd love to. And then he said, all right, put your paper in. So I think I actually got assigned to the company in November of that year, but I went over on the onion skin in July of '86.
Yeah.
How about you, Paul? Who'd you know to get in there?
Chris Gliana.
Who's he?
Chris Gliana had been a fireman there. He was in the Baldwin Fire Department, an ex-chief, and I met him at fires that we would go to in Freeport and Baldwin. We did mutual aid and became fast friends with him after a couple of good jobs that we both worked. And he was saying, "Oh, come down and talk to the boss. I told him about you." And I didn't want to go down there till I was first grade. I didn't think, it didn't feel right to me. And so then I went down and talked. In the interim, Chris got promoted and went out to Brooklyn. He was a lieutenant in 111. Because one of the guys in the chat just asked, is there any pressure if you have to work with your hook? And luckily, Chris was already gone. But it depends. If you've already worked with your hook, then there is no pressure because they know you. But if it's just a friend of a friend of a friend kind of thing, yeah, there is a lot of pressure because you don't want to let your hook down. And
the guy stuck his neck out for you. You don't want to let him down.
Right. There was a thing on one of the many videos that are shown all the time about Captain Morris, and basically he said that your reputation is everything on this job, and it takes years to build it, but you can lose it in a second. And that's really true. And if you're going to put your name on somebody, you better be right, because I've been asked by a bunch of people for all different things, helping to get their brother, their cousin, whoever on the job, and get them into this place or that place. And I happen to know a couple of people, but it really wasn't me. I knew who to talk to. And I also knew when it was time to, no, I don't have any hooks. I can't help you. I don't want to put my name on that person,
Yeah.
If they get on, good luck, figure it out yourself. But, sometimes people come with baggage, and I'm not getting associated with that. I don't know you well enough.
Right.
That only happened once or twice, thank God.
Yeah. What about you, Joel?
Well, it was a combination. It was my Catman 17 truck and Commissioner Von Essen. I did a special detail for some job citywide training. I set up a thing for the Captain's Development Program, and it sort of got me in there. And Dennis Murphy's, who really was my hook,
Right.
because that was when he got promoted to captain. He's who I work with on that program, I work for.
Mm-hmm.
And, he set me up. And then the only thing I had to do different was I had to go kiss Downey's ring.
Ah.
So I actually had to go see Downey, because what happened was John Norman interviewed me, but John was in the sit in the back seat program, for a couple of months.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then Terry was there, but he wasn't the captain. So it was like there was no captain, but they needed a couple of guys. And I had to go kiss Downey's ring and told him the story. And
there you go.
there we go. And like I said, like Paul said, it is sometimes you got to really wonder if, you got to worry that you got to stand up for what these guys did for you. You got to make sure you do the right thing.
Yeah.
Hank and I went to lunch with Von Essen, 2 weeks ago? Something like that?
Very nice.
He's still doing
nice.
good. Yeah. I like Von
Good to
Essen.
hear.
I call him
Good to hear.
Tom now. We're good with that. I call him
Like
Tommy.
Ed, right? Ed? Hey, Ed. Hey, don't Ed.
I
Brokey,
got a
you wanted to
question.
know how long you had on the job before you went to Rescue 1.
I had a question.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh,
Sorry, Ruff.
I'm sorry, birthday boy.
You're going to take care of Procaccini now? All of a sudden, you're going to be like this on Procaccini. The guy hasn't, done anything for you.
Well, he certainly hasn't joined the membership either, right?
Well, that's what I'm saying.
All
And all
right,
of a
Ruff,
sudden,
go
you're
ahead. Fuck Procaccini.
like-
Ruff,
Exactly
you
what
go.
I'm saying.
Birthday boy, go ahead.
I want to start with the dude. It doesn't have to be your favorite officer, but who is the officer in Rescue 1 that you enjoyed working with the most?
Oh, man. I can cross
Kind
that
of sounds
one
like
off.
Refrano.
In Rescue 1, in Rescue.
I know. Just,
I had that one too.
I would have to say Lieutenant Cassani, only because I was in his groups. I also enjoyed working. I had a ton of respect for Captain O'Flaherty, but I didn't work with him that often because of the way our groups lined up. If I did a mutual or something. But Steve Cassani was he was my guy. He was a fireman in the day back in Rescue 1, and then actually when he made lieutenant, where he went for a while, Louis?
103.
290.
Never heard of it.
290, and then he came back as a lieutenant. And he was in I don't know if it was the Korean War or what, but I know he was on an aircraft carrier as a naval guy. He was like one of the guys who's the guy that runs the deck? The guy
An Airedale.
Whatever. He was like
Yeah,
one of
runs
those
around on the deck putting the bombs on them and all that.
like he was the guy in charge of when they were taking off and all of that stuff.
That's
He was
my
a sharp guy. He was a sharp guy. He knew the tools. He made sure you knew the tools.
Yeah.
And he drilled it in my head, and eventually I became his gear man because I learned the tools. But yeah, he was probably the officer. And again, because of just how calm he was, and he had all the chief's respect.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's my answer, and I'm sticking to it.
How about you, Paul?
I'd have to go with Steve off the top of my head too. O'Flaherty was amazing, especially when I was a new guy and he was still relatively new there. He was a captain for a very long time in a company, which is unusual, especially a busy place like that. I did have a tremendous amount of respect and a lot of fun with John Serrato, who was a lieutenant when I first got there and then got promoted and came back as captain. And unfortunately, he was only captain a brief while, and he had a medical problem. Luckily, that didn't kill him right away. And, he had to retire. But he was another guy. He was in the Navy, damage control officer. And these guys just brought so much with them. And you get the stuff, and it was the calmness. Like I remember we're trying to go down, I think it was the 7th Battalion. They got a cellar fire, and we're looking, the hose isn't moving. And it's a good fire going. It's a concrete vault, so you're crawling into a pizza oven. But, you're not going to burn the building down, but eventually you're going to melt the nozzle, man, if you can't get in and put it out. They're not moving. The chief doesn't want us to go. He wants his guys to do it. And Serrato just says, hide your helmet. We're going in. So we put our helmets on backwards and snuck past the chief and put the fire out and gave him back the nozzle. And, they were getting hammered. They just needed some fresh legs on it. But he was doing stuff like that. We stopped one time, manholes on Park Avenue. If you come from the rest of the country, like manhole explosions is like everybody will talk about it for 20 years. In Manhattan, it happens like every other day. And the manholes are going off on Park Avenue. A lot of money being paid over there for rent. So they don't want this going on in their neighborhood. It's very inconvenient. So we pull up and we're just standing there. Whatever the companies are doing, Con Ed's doing their thing. And out of this beautiful building comes Dudley Moore and the tall blonde that he was going out with, Susan something or other, a model, actress, gorgeous. She was wearing a mink coat with legs that went up for about 1.5 miles.
Not Bo Derek.
Like her, but
Did they buy that mink coat after the Lufthansa heist?
but she sees us and she goes, "Oh, fireman! Oh, it's so nice to meet you." So we're shaking hands with Dudley and all this stuff. She goes in, tells the doorman something. They leave in a limo, and next thing we know, she says, "Oh, Susan Anton, I think that was her name.
Okay.
Miss Anton wanted you to have gentlemen to have some coffee." All right, so we go in the lobby of this place, and they come out with China cups in a silver service. It's already got milk and sugar in it. It's perfect.
Gotta do these. Gotta do one of these.
Yeah, right. So we're sipping this, and Lieutenant Serrato goes over and he sees a ballroom. There's nobody there, nothing. He goes in, there's a piano, a grand piano. He opens up the lid and starts playing the piano. In full bunker gear with a helmet on. He's banging, because he can play the accordion, harmonica, all sorts of stuff. I never knew any of this. And he's playing the piano, and we finish our coffee and leave. So it was always an adventure with these guys.
That's great. How about you, Joel?
I don't know. I'd have to say I had probably the greatest captains you could ever have. I didn't get a chance to work with John Norman, but I did the interview with him, Terry Hatton, and then Old Man Morris. It was just one after another. Steve Torelli, a young guy from Squad 41, who was a lieutenant there, who was just a rock star.
Oh, he was great. Yeah.
Tommy Donnelly, who
Tommy Donnelly
never got shook. He was another one of those guys who was just like, hey, we get to go to another almost die job. They were all spectacular bosses. I mean, I never felt, he never worried about any of the bosses. I really,
That's great.
I agree. I never worked with an assigned Rescue 1 officer that I didn't like.
they were all great bosses. And they always made you feel comfortable, even if the shit was on. Like Paul said, that you'd be standing out front and the chief would go, "Hey, nobody in the basement. It's bad. Rescue, go down there and tell me what it's like." And the boss would go, "Okay, guys, come on, we're going down there." And I was like, "Okay, well, he's going. I might as well go with him."
Yep.
But there was never any bad. I said, Old Man Morris got me in trouble once. We were it was a parking garage in an old converted factory, and there was like 100 cars burning on the 5th floor of the 6-story building. And we crawled out, and there was a nozzle on top of a car, but nothing else. And when I got up there, because I was a chauffeur, there was a probie sitting at the line. And I said, "Is your company in there?" He goes, "No, I'm not sure." So I said, "Okay, well, come on with me." And we crawled in, and I hear Morris in the back yelling at, "Bring the line this way, bring the line this way." And then, 2 minutes later, Morris goes, "Okay, it's time to get out." And I was like, I've never heard that from him before. But we get back to the stairwell, and I hear car 4. I forget who it was. He was chief of department after that, but it was chief operations. He kept calling to the rescue officer, and no answer twice. And then he calls the rescue chauffeur, and he says, "Come down to the command post and bring your boss." So I walk down to the command post with him. We get downstairs, and he's laughing. He goes, "You know why I called you?" I said, "No," because I know he wouldn't answer me. They were all, but all the bosses always made you. Even if a new guy came in, and we did have a little mix there after the 11th. We had Freddie Lafamino again, just a down-to-earth guy.
Another great one, yeah.
Just wanted to go to fires. We had some guy that Paul got fired who was there for like 2 days or something. I don't remember his name. I won't say it. Paul got him fired like in 2 days. I think it might have been 40 hours. It wasn't even that long.
It wasn't a good fit.
Yeah, that's what I said.
He was a great guy.
I was only
He
in
was a
the,
great
in the
guy.
clown. I was in the clown college, but that was a couple of hours he was there. But all the bosses were always just. It was amazing how they swam to that spot, I guess you could say.
Right.
They just.
What wasn't good was when, for whatever reason, if you didn't have a regular officer coming in and you didn't have somebody from the command coming in, they'd send like a surplus guy.
Yep.
And I can remember one day being in the house watch, the day tour, and this car pulls up in front, and this young looking guy in uniform gets out, and he leans over the fender of his car and starts throwing up. And it was this young lieutenant who was so nervous about being assigned to the rescue company that, he was just sick to his stomach. And it was like, all right, I guess we got it tonight, guys. One of those things.
Yeah.
Well, it didn't happen often, but once in a while it did happen where you got
Once in a while, yeah.
so that really didn't want to be there and didn't belong there. But but that was another thing Lieutenant Cassani always used to teach us. He says, the way that you guys can operate when I'm not on duty or when there's not a regular rescue officer on duty, that's the mark of a good rescue company. And, we always took that to heart. Like, okay, you're not always going to have a great boss, or if the boss goes down, we still got to be able to do the job. So,
Speaking of bosses, who is this guy yelling?
I have the honor of driving the captain.
Hey, guys! Yeah! You hear?
That's Terry.
Yeah, go in on the aerial ladder. Maybe from the truck.
My grandfather was a firefighter when I was young.
Yeah, that's Terry.
A few model fire
Come on, people.
trucks.
That's why.
I asked him what that truck did. They rescue firemen.
Oh,
Yeah. That's it.
Yeah, that was Terry.
That was Terry. I was like, man, I gotta go to this guy
Yeah,
screaming
it's
and
funny
make a
with
face
that
out.
clip. And they were nice enough to put that little clip together for my commercial. I have my own commercial now, Hank. How about
you
that?
do?
really,
Yeah.
Yes, of course. When we
But
do
they
history
put
with
things
Hashagen.
together because a good part of that, or at least where it leads on TV, and it'll go into one of the questions from the chat, is we had a job with window washers stuck on the outside, and Dennis Mojica was the boss. And that's what they're following, but they're doing all these other cuts in there to make it better. Because if you know the streets of Manhattan, like you're going this way in one cut and you're going that way in another cut, so people don't know, and they say, "Oh, do you remember the pile of dirt?" No, I don't remember a pile of dirt, But yeah, that was a job where it was people jumping out onto an aerial ladder. I wasn't working that night with Terry, but he was dynamic, just like Joel was on. We were so lucky, and it's one of the things too that it's not just Rescue One, and I think Rescue One. I think all the guys in all the rescues, there's always a little, to me, it's more camaraderie than rivalry, but all of the bosses and all of the guys in the rescue companies, it's a good fit. The guys that were in Rescue 2 excelled in the way that Rescue 2 operated. The same thing with 3 and the same thing with 4. I was lucky enough as a chauffeur, I didn't get detailed too often when we had SOC, but I did get to work in all the different rescue companies. Not certainly as much as Hank and Joel did. Being a chauffeur, I didn't get detailed too much, but I always felt like an odd little duck in a place, but they were as comfortable as we were, and it's the same in any good engine or any good ladder company in any city or village or town anywhere. When you have people that know what they're doing and know the people on either side of them know what they're doing, there's a certain calm that takes over, and that's how it's supposed to be. I used to tell new guys, and when we did teaching and stuff, there's really only 2 times that you're supposed to get excited when you go to a fire. Number 1, if it's your house, or number 2, if you set it. But besides that, imagine these poor people call up 911 and a bunch of lunatics show up. It's a fire. It's like, oh God, is there a better number to call? Like what, 912 better or something? I don't know.
Well said. Right?
The old act like you've done this before.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, please.
Yeah. Louis actually was my favorite officer in 288 until I backed into the Chinese guy's car with the rig and leaned in the window and said, "What the fuck are you doing?" That was the end of it. He couldn't be my favorite officer anymore.
I was calm. I said it calm.
You better hope Heavy D's not watching.
Oh my God. Hold on, Hank.
Can I tell you a quick
Everybody was off the rig, first of all. Everybody was off the rig backing up.
Well,
So you can't blame them.
Time out. This is how it went, right? You got guys backing you up when you're outside the rig, backing you up. So this is what it sounded like. Beep, beep, beep. Stop! You're supposed to say stop before I hit the fucking car. You know?
All right.
Who was the chief that day? You remember? Was it Rock?
What's his name? Rocco.
Rinaldi?
Rinaldi.
Yeah, it says chief. He was right behind us. He pulled right behind us and then went down the block because we went past the block. And then after the job, it was great. I says, Chief, listen, I I'll take care of everything. Blah blah. He's like, I don't know what you're talking about. I was like, this nice. So I go up to Coobs. I'm like, I think we're gonna get out of here. And he goes, the police are already here. They're already looking for the guy's address. Ah, shit.
What are you doing?
What are you gonna do? All right, moving on.
This one you're gonna have to put on your memory caps. The first night, your first tour in Rescue 1, you remember leading up to going there? Were you anxious? Driving to the firehouse? Were you and your first tour, was it uneventful? Was it scary? What was it?
Intimidating.
Who's going first? Joel, you go first.
I'll go first. Okay. I'm not. It was either my first or second tour. And my second tour probably was the most amazing one ever. Coming from first Alexandria, where everything was completely legit. Like you had to put your tie and your button-up shirt on at 4:00 in the afternoon every day. That's how legit it was. It was crazy. But I think it was my second night tour. I was coming in nervous as hell like usual, carrying my little cake, walking down the hallway. And as I walk past the TV room, where the famous Hashagen cartoon is.
I remember this story.
I look in. Gary Geidel's got Dave Weiss in a chokehold on the floor, punching him in the head. As I walk by, and they both looked at me and went, "Hey." I went in the kitchen, put the cake down. I said, "Where did I just come to?" And then 2 minutes later, they're both in there. "You brought a cake?" Both hugging each other. "You got a cake?" I was like, "You couldn't make this shit up."
Well, listen, Paul and I from the Freeport Fire Department, where Dave Weiss happened to be a firefighter in a different.
Oh my God!
I could understand Gary doing that.
Listen, if you ask me about Dave, I mean, God rest his soul, right? I mean, I remember the few times I worked there, and I remember him. He just wouldn't shut up. Like he was constantly chirping. Brilliant. Like he was just nonstop.
But they would break his balls nonstop, man. Like I
remember him.
It didn't affect him. He'd still talk. They would break his balls.
My brother-in-law came in to see me at work from Virginia, right? And he's like 6'3", 260, big dude, right? He's in the kitchen. We came back from a run. Dave was there and changed the tours. Dave's got like 17 devil dogs opened in front of him, a gallon of milk and a glass of milk. I said to my brother, I said, "What happened?" He goes, "He scared me. He told me I had to eat devil dogs. I had to eat devil dogs. I didn't know what was going on."
Didn't he make some, that's how he got the rescue one, right?
Jumped in the water or something.
Jumped in the water or something, right?
And the mayor asked him, right? I mean, yes, you know the story better than me. You were there.
Yep.
How did it go down?
Yeah, well, his girlfriend and his live-in girlfriend was trying to get him to go downtown. In those days, they had the paperwork where she could be covered under health insurance. So they had to go down, whatever it was.
Domestic partner.
So they're in the car. They get all the way down there. They pull up. They're about to go in and sign the paperwork. They get into a big argument. He gets pissed off. "Screw this. I'm not doing it." He drives out and he gets on the FDR drive and he's heading north. And she's yelling at him. And he's "I'm not listening." And all of a sudden he sees a car go in the river. So he pulls over to the side. Now he's on the elevated portion but he could see the car below go into the river. So he stops and gets out of the car. She didn't see the car go in the water. She thinks that he's getting suicidal and he's going to jump off the side of the road because it's an elevated portion. So he's looking down and he tells me the story later. He goes, I wish you were there, man, because you know this water stuff. I don't like this water stuff. And he sees the car sinking, and all of a sudden the guy comes out. He goes, son of a bitch, now I got to go in. So he was an iron worker. He slides down the I-beam, and he eventually jumps in the water, gets this guy, but the current's taking him down. So people are coming to help and all these different things. The first guy is a construction workers, and they're handing him a sledgehammer. It's like, yeah, hold on to this anvil, Wile E. Coyote. And, so that's in the cartoon of him. I have him wearing an inflatable little pool.
Oh, I remember the pool
thing, and they're handing him a sledgehammer.
Isn't any? No. Oh, that was in the other one, right?
Yeah, it's in the other one.
It's up above.
That one.
Nope.
No, we don't got enough of them. I didn't send that one.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, Dave was great. Dave was great.
So finish the story. He gets the guy out, and they ask him where.
Well, he gets the guy out. He goes to the hospital, and of course, you're in the river. People were getting sick in those days, and they always come in if there's ever anything I can do for you. The mayor's there, and the fire commissioner. So the mayor immediately sticks the fire commissioner in, and his girlfriend, who 2 seconds ago was going to kill him, goes, he wants to go to Rescue 1, and the next thing you know, he's in the door.
Wow.
But I tell you what, he earned his spurs right off the bat because he's a great fireman and he knew all that construction stuff. So he was a good fit. You know, he was a big loss too. He was a pain in the ass, but what a good fireman. What a good guy. Yeah.
I love Lippy.
Lippy. Oh man, I had a picture. I was going to send it. I used to do these cartoons on a whiteboard, and I had an ongoing thing. I drew a whole cartoon book about Lippy. The white
Lippy the Rescue Eagle.
Oh yeah, I found one of them today, Joel. I almost sent it to him. Lippy.
I think the Lippy metal still is welded to the beam there in the quarters.
Yeah. Gary came up with that.
Yeah, Gary. They made
Gary
that.
Title named him Lippy because he wouldn't shut up.
Lippy. That's great.
Who's up next?
Hank's up.
All right, so I'm an old guy. Remind me the question.
I just crossed it out.
And he's drinking water.
Oh, your first tour in Rescue 1. Go again.
Oh, okay. Okay. Oh God, the first tour. All I remember is, I guess I had about 7.5 years on the job. I had been to a lot of fires in Brooklyn, but I walked in the door and I was nervous as shit, you know, because here it is, a rescue company, and I got, you know, all these senior guys. And I know we did a lot of running. I don't remember if we actually worked. I think we responded to a job or two. We probably didn't do that much work. One job that I guess one of my first tours, I'm going to say this was probably, I think I had about 2 weeks in the company, and it's a night tour, and we respond to Midtown. It's a job. And it was one of the old hotels being renovated. Was it like the Algonquin or one of those Indian names, right? Didn't they have a couple of Indian names over there, Paul?
Yep.
So one of those hotels was vacant, totally gutted and being renovated. And I'm with Angelini, and now we're on the floor above, and it's a good job. 54 has the line below us. And because it's under renovation, like none of the stairways have fire doors or anything yet. And all of a sudden the conditions changed on the floor above, like drastically. And then you hear in 54 saying, we lost water. And now this fire's coming, racing up the stairs. And it turns to midnight, and I'm down on my belly. And I remember in my head at that point saying, I came to this borough to die. You know, like 2 weeks in Manhattan, and I'm like, you know, I'm out of my comfort zone, and I'm like, all right, I'm going to die in this borough here in 2 weeks. And I remember yelling out, because at that point I was disoriented, and I yelled out to Joe, you know, I think I might have had an alternative breathing device back in those days. So I think I might have taken it out and yelled, Joey, where are you? And like he had found refuge in another room, and he came out into the hallway, and was basically talking, and I was able to, crawl down to where he was, and then he pulled me into the room of refuge, and and then they got water again, and that was it. But that was probably my first hairy job within the first couple of weeks of being in Rescue 1. So can't say it was my first tour, but it was one of my first night tours.
Early on.
Yeah.
How about you, Paul? Early on? First tour?
I think the first run I went on, I remember. As we were responding, they had it was a really nice I think the 79 Mac R with the motor in the front. Like, that's a real rescue truck to me. That was such a beautiful truck.
Yeah, we had the picture of us standing in it before.
That's the one.
Yeah, right. So it's a day tour. I jump on the back. Yeah, that truck.
Mm-hmm.
So we're rolling along, and Richie Cody was one of the guys in the company. Senior to me, wasn't one of the top guys, but he had been around, quite a while. He was
nickname?
Sorry?
Say his nickname.
Oh, Bitchy Richie, yeah.
Well, how about Acid Tongue?
Oh, yeah. Well, he had a couple of good nicknames. Yeah, he was fun. He was a lot of fun. Super duper fireman, but man, he could break your balls. Anyway, so I'm all set now. I got a brand new flashlight, and I got one of those seat belts in case you get tangled. You can pop right out of it. I'm all set. So he's sitting there, and they pop in a tape. They had a tape machine, a cassette tape that could play in the back, and they put on, because as soon as they transmitted to 1075 or all hands, they put on Flight of the Valkyries. So it's Wagner, dan da dan dan, and with the siren going. I'm thinking, holy shit, it's like a friggin' movie here, So we're wailing along. We're going downtown, listening to the size up, and Richie just turns to me and goes, "Hey, that's a really nice flashlight. If anything happens to you, can I have it?" I said, "Yeah, sure, go right ahead. I got a gold tooth too, if you want that." So I knew right away I was in a place I wanted to be.
That was it. Shit. Somebody just asked, did Rescue 1 ever have a dog in its history?
Yeah,
Yes.
we got a couple of questions I highlighted. So
Yeah. Going back, there was back when they were on Spring Street, there was a dog called Boots, and a Dalmatian, and then there was another one. I forget his name, but yeah, they did have a dog for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
John, you had a couple in there. Somebody asked about the Joe Angelini, but we did that already.
yeah, we did. Somebody was asking about Morris, if you guys were working with him when he went down on the subway.
Yeah, Joel did.
Yeah. I broke my finger that day dragging his ass out.
What happened? Give us that story, Joel.
Well, it was strange. It was one of those, it really wasn't the subway. It was a converted, metro facility they made working shops into, like deep in. It was an old subway station.
Mm-hmm.
And, we got there, and they hadn't had any progress trying to find the fire. So on the second search rope, because we had attached I was with the captain, we attached the second search rope to the first search rope, got a little further, and he says, it's got to be right up here, because he could feel it. We got up there, and he said, yeah, it's right here. He said to me, go back and get the guys with the hose. And, sometimes that wasn't the easiest thing to do.
Right.
Because when you got back there, a lot of them didn't, the hose just didn't want to go that way for some reason, whatever it was.
Mm-hmm.
But, I got back there, we got the line up to there. And he said to me, he says, we're going to head out, let the engine take over the fire. And I went out, I was in the street changing my bottle, and I heard the Mayday. And it was funny, we had the captain had just retired, John Sorello. He was detailed there from 18.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like his first or second tour in the rescue. We had a guy from Staten Island, a truck in Staten Island for the day. I don't think the guy ever came back to the fire department. Because, we went back in, and it was him and the can man both were completely down. The truck did a great job. They were trying to get him out, but there was all these cinder blocks and crap in the way, because it was an old construction area. And it was behind beautiful offices, was the funny part. You went through like offices and went into it. But, I ended up dragging both of them out. I ended up bagging Morris The cameraman wasn't as bad. He was still gasping, but Morris really wasn't moving air. And we ended up bagging him, and they tubed him right before they got to the back of the rig, before the back of the ambulance. Did a great job. But the best part of that whole story is 5 days later, he's back at work.
Yeah, he's absolutely incredible.
You know, and when he tells the story, he says, I forget who is it. Dr. Kelly said, well, you're going to have to get a pulmonary function. You're going to have to get an EKG. You're going to have to get a stress test, blah, 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 blah. He spent like 9 hours in the hospital getting all that shit done so he can come back to work. But yeah, it was a crazy job.
Yep.
Really berserk.
That's old school, man.
Poor John Cirillo, like I said, he stayed. And that poor guy from, I don't know, one of the 70 trucks. I don't think he ever came back. He would never go about detail in Manhattan again, I can guarantee you.
Wow.
Don't blame him.
Yeah.
And then after the whole thing, the captain's in the ambulance, and a truck had transmitted a mayday at the same time. And I'm not really sure if it was just a missing member, but it was Sweeney, not Sweeney. Who was another big chief with no neck? I don't know. He was one of those dudes with stars and no neck. And, and he called me on the radio and he says, Rescue, you got to get back in there. We have a mayday. And I said, well, it's me and these two guys, because the other two guys are over there. But I said, okay, we're going back in. But that would turn out to be nothing, thank God. Yeah. I broke my finger on the Stokes basket because, in the rush of trying to carry him out and everything, once you got the fresh air, everybody was there to help.
Right. Always.
Well, that's it. Yeah.
And then I had my hand on the basket, and of course the basket took off like a flash. I couldn't get my finger out of the freaking basket.
So you were out probably longer than the captain was out.
I didn't go out actually, but yeah. If I'd been in 17 truck, that could have been career.
You know who
Right,
Joel went
yeah.
to go. You know who Joel went to go see? Dr. Summeroff.
Yeah. Oh man, great story. I just talked to Cirillo 2 days ago. He's going to come on. He says he needs a little time to decompress.
Oh, good. Yeah, that'd be good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was going to ask the fire that you went to where you thought you were going to buy it. Well, Hank just told us one. What about you? You almost buy the farm on one, Paul?
Yeah, Hank was at that job. We went up. I think it was the 25th Battalion was still there. And it was a tenement fire, Upper East Side. We go in. Cassani was the boss. It was me and Hank with him. And we go up by the line. It was top floor above the fire, heavy fire on the floor below us. And I went to the right and went to the apartment, and they went ahead to do the other apartment. And I get in, and I'm doing a search, and it's getting hot. I look up and I see this fire behind the window, looking towards the front where the front fire escape is. And there's a lot of fire, so that's not good. So I turn around, I'm working my way back, very small apartment. And as I'm coming back, I see a bed. So I do a quick sweep of the bed, and it's things are changing. So I took my glove off to feel how hot it was over my head. And I couldn't lift my hand over my head. And then when I put my hand down, it went through the carpet and got burned. I said, well, this is not good. And then I look up and there's fire behind me. But the fire was in the shaft behind me. It wasn't like I came in at an angle.
Mm-hmm.
So I got fire in front of me, fire behind me, fire below me. And I figured, I'm screwed now. Just like that Hank feeling that, this isn't
Manhattan to die.
So I got on the radio and I gave an urgent. I didn't want to give a mayday, but I wanted to find out. And the chief says, oh, come to the front fire escape. And I'm thinking, well, what fire are you at? Because the front fire escape's full of fire, at least the room I'm in. So I am not listening to that. And then I just yelled with the engine on the top floor, yelled where the doorway is. But by this point, Hank and Cassani had heard. And they came back and we all ended up at the doorway at the same time because I had to go where the fire was and then do a little turn and went tumbling out into the hallway. So I got some second-degree burns on my hand, nothing major. The fire goes out. And the next thing we know, we're going to Brooklyn to a row frame building. So off we go. And for me, it's brand new. It was the only row frame fire I ever went to. And we're helping those guys. And we're getting some looks from the Brooklyn companies. Who the hell are these guys? And then we're not saying anything. And, you know, you're rescue? Yeah, but no, you're not. Yes, we are. But no, we're Rescue 1. We're the friendly rescue. You know, nobody's going to hurt you here. And, but it turns out, shit, I can't remember the brother's name, but a guy got killed that night in the truck.
Oh, Kevin Kane.
Yeah, exactly. Kevin Kane, right. They named the fireboat after him. In a very similar circumstance to what happened to me. The ceiling came down on him, and he got trapped in the building, probably relatively the same time that I'm getting burned, but to me, minor. And all of a sudden, it just struck you like you get scared. And anybody says they weren't scared or brain dead or never were paying attention to where they were. I was scared.
Right.
And we kind of drove by that building, Hank, if you remember. It was just like a block away, but I remember it's like the shell of a building with lights on it, and thinking somebody died in there, and just like how close you can come, you know, like how scary.
That night tour, we responded to 5 multiple alarms that night tour. That row frame went to a 5th alarm, and that was the last job of the night we responded to, and it came in like. They sent us at like 6 a.m.
Yeah.
And we had already been at, I think, 2 multiples in Harlem. One was where you had that, you know, almost got caught. And I believe we had 2 in Chinatown.
Yeah.
And then that job we were at, because Rescue 2 was still at the job because Kevin Kane had gotten killed. And I think he was. And that flight, again, that was another Murphy's thing where I think they were relocated to 107, his truck.
They were. 110 was
and
relocated
they were,
to 107.
And they were told at that point they could take up, but they ended up staying and fighting that fire. And that's when he got caught and ended up getting, you know, severely burnt. But yeah, that was 5 multiples that night. We ended up in Sunset Park, and it was a 5th alarm in the row frames there, and we didn't get back to quarters till like 11:30 that morning.
Yep.
So yeah.
Wow, look at Hank. The memory on him, bro. He must have taken his Prevagen this morning. I don't know why.
I remember, Kevin. I remember the night. That's why we ended up in Brooklyn, because it was the night.
I remember you actually telling me that story, Hank.
Yeah. It was a really busy night. We started out early.
That was a tough night. You know, another tough night while we're talking about them, and Joel was just mentioning the May days. I'm trying to look for where the pictures are. 38.
38 it is.
Yeah. I sent that picture in too.
That's East Broadway.
Okay. That was
in 1988.
Is that Ellison?
We go down, we pull up. Jimmy Elson's there on the left. Paulie Schmidt's behind him. That's me enjoying the oxygen. And Hank's copping a feel on my left knee.
I'm the lead blocker.
Yeah. But we go down to this job in kind of a nice apartment house down on the Lower East Side. And we pull up, and the fire's out the window. It's 10:75. Everybody's having fun, and you know, everybody rolls off the back of the rig, and they're going. I'm the chauffeur, so I'm strapping my mask on, and I look up where the fire was coming out the window, and suddenly it's not out the window anymore. It's in the window, and then they start screaming because the wind shifted, and it blew the fire in on everybody. So this was one of those times when we get to the staircase and you look up and there's a crowded staircase. They're pushing a line in. Everybody's trying to operate it to the attack stairs. And it's one of those times when they turn around and go, "Oh, thank God rescue's here." Like, rarely do these people want to see you, and understandably so. And all of a sudden, they're handing guys down over us. It was like a mosh pit, like that surfing thing the kids do at the concert.
Yeah.
And they were handing guys down, and they're all bleeding around the eyebrows and stuff. And it took us a while to figure out that when the wind shifted and the fire came at the nozzle man, if I remember correctly, I think it was a Proby had the nozzle. He just stuck it right up over his head. Everybody got steamed. As they're getting steamed, people are diving into each other, and they're banging their heads into the bottles. So they're coming down looking like prize fighters, and people scattered. They went left, they went right, they went everywhere. They come down, and the officers lost track of all their men. They're trying their best to do it. We just happened to be right on the spot. So I think Jimmy Elson and Paulie Schmidt and Hank and Joey, they went left, and I went right for some reason, and I found the line. So while they're looking for guys that are burned or lost in the hallway, I'm pushing the 2.5 relatively by myself because there's all these people down the other end of the hallway screaming. But I'm thinking if the wind shifts again, we're all going to die in this friggin' hallway. And then eventually Joey came and helped me. But I remember in the volleys, Hank and I were teaching the young guys that a 2.5's not a feeder. It's an attack line. And, you know, 2 muscle guys out in the parking lot at the training center in Freeport pushing the 2.5. Hey, you can do it with 2 guys. And then sucking wind later. I hope they didn't see how old we are. This is hard work.
Rethink this shit.
But trying to move a 2.5 by yourself, but that adrenaline helps you. And then I got Joey. And then once the fire's knocked down, somebody threw the switch on me. I was done. I just like that. I got to get out of here. And the next thing I wake up and it's a hot solar guy. He's poking me. And I thought I was in heaven for a second. And, you know, this is a big guy with a beard. He's gone. I thought it was Moses or something.
Paulie, welcome, Paulie. Welcome.
The old book is the right one. Okay, good.
Come on, Paulie. Come on in.
Come on in. What's that? What?
He was asking earlier. I guess it was I guess you had a multiple with you guys were by yourself.
That was
yeah.
Oh, that was that was with Cassani again. Going back from a job, right?
Yeah, I wish I put pictures of that one in. Yeah, we were on it. We went downtown to a fire in a high rise or something. And we're just waiting. And you know, Steve doesn't want to leave. He's listening. And finally, they got it. Okay, we can go. So he says, we get another thing. I guess it's like 7 a.m. or something. Very windy day. And we start heading north. Bricks coming off a building in Times Square. So I think Steve says, oh, take 7th Avenue. Now, if you read the regulations and everything, the chauffeur's supposed to be guided by the desires of the officer. But I was good enough friends with Steve to make believe I didn't hear what he said. And I went out to 12th Avenue because anybody that's been a chauffeur, if you take 12th Avenue up West Street, I only have traffic coming from one direction. If I'm taking 7th Avenue, every single corner is an opportunity to get crashing. So I want to get 12th. I want to get flying. So I went my direction instead of his direction. So we're working our way up. We're going up, and Steve turns to me and he goes, did you see that? And I said, what? And he goes, no, up there on the right, the building over there on the corner. And all of a sudden, all this smoke comes out, and then the wind blows it away. So he goes, pull over. So he gets on the radio. Rescue 1 to Manhattan was stopping at Weston Jane. We have a building fire. Make it a 1075. So, oh, wow. And I'm looking, and there's a good fire going in this place. And then he goes, yeah, make that in all hands and send us a towel ladder. And now I look back, and it's going even more. So I run in the back of the rig. I'm putting my coat on, starting to throw the mask on, and I turn around, and now there's fire out almost every window on this building. So I grab my camera, I take a couple of quick pictures, and then Steve turns to me and holds up 2 fingers. And I go,
second alarm.
I'm going to transmit the first second alarm I ever get to transmit. They go over to the radio, and a deep and resonant voice, Rescue 1 to Manhattan, Kay. And it's Herbie Eyes that picks up, go ahead there, Rescue 1. My orders of Rescue 1, transmit a second alarm. So it was thrilling. And now it's spreading. It's going everywhere. We ended up on the roof of Exposure 3. On the roof of Exposure 3, crawling on our bellies with a garden hose, trying to keep, they had this whole beautiful decking and fences and patio furniture, and it's all igniting because of all the radiant heat. So, and while we're doing that, the building burned to the ground. It went into 4 other buildings, caused 2 other pretty good fires. Mickey Conboy's doing a rope rescue up in the Bronx at the exact same time.
Really?
Yeah, in a housing project up there. It was quite a morning.
As they say, Paul, we didn't do so good there, huh?
Yeah.
No, well, not
Didn't we end up? When I say we, didn't Rescue end up transmitting like a third or a fourth before?
4 alarms. Yeah, I got the
before-
transmit too,
Yeah.
and Steve came back and gave a third, and he gave the fourth while the deputy was there, and the deputy was not happy.
Yeah, well,
Drop you should have said, drop the deuce, rescue 1 to the borough.
he got
Go
over
ahead.
it.
Drop the deuce. All right, Joel, it's time for your I'm almost dead story.
Well, Paul was there, but he didn't help me out. You know,
Oh no!
he was slacking.
Oh,
I think
no.
on the floor below.
Say it ain't so.
Oh no!
He was a floor below Paul.
The ever dangerous
It was actually Waterside Plaza.
Oh yeah, that was.
We had
some
fire on a
job.
couple floors, and what happened was
That was some job.
some guys got an elevator, some of us ended up pumping stairs. So, you know, when we got there, I think Paul and it might have been Frank Fee, a couple of the guys had the line on the original fire floor, and I went to go above. I got above and I crawled out to the line, like, going to crawl down the hallway. I crawled to the end of the line and there's a nozzle, and the door was like partially open. And like a dumbass, I opened the door, and the fire was wind driven. It came over top of me. I actually got burned on my thigh and my arm. And then I grabbed the nozzle. It was a deuce and a half, like Paul said. I'm laying on my back, I could keep it operating and keep it cool enough that I know I wasn't going to die. I tried to shut the nozzle down to leave and run, admit it, chicken. Every time I shut down, though, it was hurting. So I opened the line back up.
Yeah.
And the guy who saved my day for sure is Patty Brown.
Really?
I hear this voice crawl up behind me. He goes, "Who's this?" And of course, you never want to say it because you never know it's going to be somebody who want to hit you in the head with a wrench or something when you tell them you're the rescue. I says, "Rescue 1." And he goes, "Hey, what do we got to do?" I said, "Well, we got to put the fire out or we got to get out of here." And he grabbed the deuce staff behind me and sort of gave me that shoulder, and we pushed around the corner and beat the fire out. But
Yep. Well, I was with him. I had gone up the stairs, and what was that? The 23rd floor or something, Joel?
23rd and 24th, 24th, 25th.
floor. I get to the 23rd floor. I happen to be the first guy on the stairs because I was the last one going in, and they said the elevators are out. So I went up the stairs, and I'm getting to like the 22nd, and I'm trying to calm myself. Let's get your breathing good. And I'm just getting on my knees to put all the equipment on, the face piece and everything. And Patty Brown comes out of the smoke, goes, "Paulie, come on." He grabs me. I go in. Now I'm on a 2.5 with him. We're putting it out. And we're out of air. And like Joel's saying, you cannot stay in these places with no air. So we did a whole bottle. We go down. I won't tell the whole story. There's a whole bunch of other people. Some officer gave their to Patty.
The
That's
best
all right.
cylinder give ever.
Yeah. But he walked up to a lieutenant and said, "Hey, Lou, give me your bottle. You're not going to use it." "Okay, Pat." And then I went over to the probing. He said, "Well, you're not going anywhere. Give me you a mask." So I took that, kids. And then we went up, and I followed Patty. And then we went to you. That was my second floor of fire. That was some fire, man. And that was right before 9/11, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was April.
Might have been. It all runs together now.
Because I went on it was the last good job I had with Patty, and then Patty Brown went down and was telling everybody how good the camera was.
Oh, that was the worst part. We were standing there, and Patty Brown goes, "If we'd had these cameras 20 years ago, I probably wouldn't have done all this. The shit I saw through that camera was crazy." I was like, "Yeah, Patty, you're crazy, all right." Yeah,
that was some job.
Well, you could have had a guy just wanting to test you on a drill, right, Roof? Stretch it 2.5 by yourself, hump it in, operate it, pull it back out, hump it in, operate it.
And then
just
put
steal
electrical tape over your eyes so you couldn't see what was going on in the rain, pouring.
In the rain. Yeah, that was.
If he just came back from a third alarm.
Yeah, that was Diatri. I guess he wanted to test the young man.
Eddie, muscle man.
Dude, he brought us in. He made us stretch it 2.5 by ourselves, with our eyes taped. Come back, stretch it again, operate it, advance it. And then the next guy went. I think he wanted to kill us that day in the pouring rain.
I've never even seen anything. He put electrical tape on the top of your eyelid and then taped it to your cheek. And then you had to figure, it was like hilarious. And we just came from a third alarm that we saw from the BQE, that we saw it, or the LIE, we saw it.
He was another classic. He was hot
muscle
stuff.
Man.
What a tough fireman. He really was. We called him Ricochet Rabbit.
Yeah,
I could see that.
I forget who it was. I forget which chauffeur I said to that because I was driving him when he was covering, and he would stand up to put the mask on. I couldn't see in the mirrors, and I'm going, "Lou, sit down. We'll be there in a minute. I got to see what we're doing." And I forget which chauffeur. It might have been Davey Williams. And he goes, "Well, if he stands up, just tap the brake. Once he bounces off the windshield, he sits back down."
Good point.
He was a tough fireman, though. He used to wear 2 pairs of gloves.
Yeah, he went.
I was making fun of him for these gloves. He goes, "These are my
Yeah.
inside gloves." He had the gloves that the Indianapolis race car drivers use because his hands got burned one time. And then he had the fire gloves on top of it. So he had more gloves than you knew what to do with.
Same with his pads in his knees, and supposedly he used to wear 2 hoods.
Double hood.
Yeah.
He was sitting doing paperwork at the desk one time, and I'm doing committee work, just mopping, minding my business, and I look at his arm. You know, he's got a whole bunch of symbols and shit all over. I don't know. I says, I'm just gonna ask him. Hey, Lou, what does that mean on your arm? Son, these are my rules to live by. And if you had to live by those rules, you'd probably be dead. Puts his glasses back on. What the fuck? All right.
I remember you telling me that story. It's like, dude, all I was trying to do was make conversation with.
I'm
the guy,
trying to
you know
just,
what I mean?
I'm mopping, mind my business. Hey, Lou, what's that written on your? What does that mean on your arm there?
Yeah. Try to be nice.
Yeah, right.
Rules to live by.
There's a pretty good question in the chat.
Which one you want, the $5 one?
Yeah, if things went different, could you see yourself as an officer in the rescue? If you didn't have to go through all the BS and take the test and do all that crap, if they said, "All right, we need you as an officer," would you? We'll start
I
with
think
Paul.
all 3 of us would have been great officers. Yeah, without a doubt.
Well, God bless you.
Yeah.
You would. Well, God bless you.
I mean, I don't think, from my story, I'd been promoted to lieutenant in Alexandria, and it was a different feeling, and I don't know. I liked working for bosses. I like breaking shit.
Right.
After Paul abandoned me, the most I had to do was figure out go left or right.
Right. You had the secret too.
I mean, I truly had the life of dreams. No offense, but now I live in the Caribbean. It's pretty cool too, but that was the life of dreams. I mean, would I have been a good boss? I was an okay boss in Virginia, I guess. I might have been a good boss, but sometimes I look at the bosses we had in Rescue 1. I don't think I was comparable to them. I mean, some of those guys were just amazing. Just totally never got excited about anything. I mean, I never even heard any of them raise their voice.
Well, listen,
Dennis Mojica, like I said, Dennis Mojica was sort of like telling me bedtime stories when we're crawling down the hallway. Dennis was just he had that monotone. Oh yeah, and we're just going to do this, and okay, go ahead and do that. Mike Penna, all these guys were just great bosses. I don't think I would personally. I don't think I would have measured up. I made a pretty good fireman, but I don't know about a boss.
Don't sell yourself short.
Exactly. The fact that you got to where you got to that's 3/4 of the battle. So, everybody's different. What they're looking for. I mean, to answer that fella's question, do I think I could have done it? Not with 10 years on the job. Not in Rescue 1. I might have been a good officer in a truck in the ghetto with 10 years on. I don't know. I do like teaching the younger guys, and I think I have the.
I just said, Hank, you found what you were meant to do. You took a whole bunch of young guys.
So, at that point, like I said, I've often been, and you guys have asked me the question: if you could change anything in the way your career went, would you change it? No. I was at the right time in the ghetto. I was at the right time in Rescue 1, and I was at the right time to finish my career. In the squad with all you young guys. So
sponges.
There's no regrets. No regrets.
Amen.
I mean, look at Liam. He turned down chief, right? State captain of Rescue 2. He's happy with doing what he's doing there, right?
Yeah, and it happened before. The same thing. Morris turned it down.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's you find what you're good at, what you're comfortable at. I remember Terry coming in and laughing at me. I'm reading a novel I'm supposed to be studying for lieutenant. And he goes, "You're never going to get to be a lieutenant reading that book." I said, "Yeah, but it's a really good book." The problem is I don't remember which book it was.
Right.
Whatever.
But Paul, it's not only what you're good at, and it's what makes you happy.
Yeah.
If you're happy at that where you are, you know, you were a senior guy, the seniorist guy, and the seniorist rescue. So it's like, if that was making you happy, you had the respect of everybody. Why change?
Yep.
That's the spot to be, right?
Plus, I had a wife at work, and I didn't need a second job.
Woohoo! Look at you, Joel.
Again, exactly. You know, it's
Wonderful thing. Sure.
Oh, yeah. I always said you would have had to put a brick of dynamite on this and blast my ass out of that seat. I wasn't giving up that seat.
Yeah.
Amen.
Yep.
Do you guys have any knowledge or know anything about when the firehouse was destroyed in '85?
It was Paul's and Hank's fault.
That was Paul's fault. No, Hank didn't get there till '86. It was Paul's fault.
Paul knows, and I got there as it was still being cleaned up. But Ash could tell you the story of the night, you know, of that night that it happened.
But it was another one of those things that I'm at home and all of a sudden the telephone rings and it's Bruce Newberry and he's saying, put the news on. So I put the news on. Oh, that's a bad fire. He goes, yeah, that's the piano factory next to the firehouse. I said, all right, I'll pick you up. So I drive over, I get him, and here's my wife like, where are you going now? You know, it's bad enough that you go for your tours and you work your tours and then you come home and then we're running out when our little radios are going off in Freeport. And now we're dispatching ourselves by the news. So, okay, see you, stupid. Anyway, in we go. And what a fire. It's absolutely incredible. It is amazing. It just shows you how good the New York City Fire Department really is. Like people always say, oh, your firehouse burned down or whatever. It was a major building fire that went to 10 alarms. That exposure number 3 was a lumberyard.
Lumberyard.
Exposure number 4 is the firehouse. Exposure number 1 is the street, but across the street is a building. It's a high school now, or most of it. It belonged to the library, and that was the archives of all the old newspapers in the city. So, and then you have a hotel next to that. So, you know, occupied, like money.
And right next to that was where they stored all the paint thinners in the city. So, anything else flammable?
There's a dynamite factory next to the
dynamite factory.
But they pulled 10 alarms in there, and that fire stayed in that building. Our building got destroyed by a collapse and small subsequent fires after that, but it got destroyed by a collapse. They kept that fire in that building, and they went in, 54 engine and 4 truck went in. Rescue 1 was downtown at another job. They came and kind of backfilled and went in. Tommy Baker went to the rear. I remember him telling me, and he's looking down the back of the building, and he said like 15 windows blew out all at the same time from the basement. And he said he never saw anything like it. It was just a wave of fire came out the back. Steve DeRosa, I think, was the battalion chief for the 9th Battalion in the street. And the overfill pipe on the oil burner for the oil tank, the cap blew off and it was gushing.
Oh, shit. Boiling up
vaporized oil because the oil tank was in proximity to the fire and it was boiling the oil in the tank. That's how hot it was down there. And now we're pulling everybody out and then scurrying to keep the building up. And then the building went down. Somebody got hurt and they told me to work, but all the different guys, you know, Hank and all these other guys did the same thing that Bruce and I did. They start backfilling and showing up. And it was, once everything calmed down, it was 2 weeks of digging out all the crap, right? It was, what a mess. It was like a precursor to what happened at the World Trade Center, but on a smaller scale.
Oh, yeah.
And it was a nicer scale because it was just rubble with nobody in it. You know, it didn't have the meaning, but it was a very similar thing. And, you know, just training you for future events, really. But
How long were you guys out of the firehouse? How long were you out of the firehouse?
Well, that was January 23rd, 1985, and we went back in 89.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Whoa.
And they made the mistake. Ed Koch says Rescue 1 will be back, and they help. But also, one of the things, too, talking one little historical nugget. A lot of the property that fire buildings are on, other people own, and they give they deed the property to New York City as long as there's an active firehouse there. So if the city doesn't rebuild it, it goes back to whoever owns the plot. So that's why they rebuild the building.
There's a little.
That's not why they rebuilt it the other way around.
Little nugget for you, little chicken nugget.
You know what?
When they flipped it, the front of the house became the back of the house. Does that have anything to do with that little tidbit you just mentioned?
Well, no. What they did is they took down the front of the building and stored it, and then they built a whole new building, and then on the back wall that they built a regular back wall, and then they took everything that used to be the front of the building and attached it to the rear wall.
Okay, that makes sense.
So it looks like another front.
Okay.
And I remember one of the chiefs came in when we first did that, and he goes, "Well, if you just throw a couple of rubbers around on the floor, it'll look right." Because back in '85, there was now you go there, there's people living all around.
Disney World. It's Disney World. Right.
When I showed up in '85, there was '83. There was nobody there. It was hookers.
Hookers. I was going to say.
I'm sorry. I didn't even know that. I didn't know there was hookers there. Coobs, did you know there was hookers over there?
I had no idea.
I had no idea.
Well, yeah,
allegedly.
There was that diner down the corner that was like the Space War.
Yeah.
Right? The Market Diner.
Yeah.
I mean, that was,
Shit,
you have guys dressed up as women that, 6'4" in skirts and high heels. And if you were standing out front, they'd be, "Oh, we want to have your baby." It was like, what? It's like,
that place, Edelweiss.
Edelweiss
was around the corner.
Yeah.
I remember that Weiss sent, maybe it wasn't Weiss, somebody sent a bunch of German guys.
Yes.
Where's a good place to go? Oh, go to Edelweiss. They love us. Tell them you're firemen. And off they go. It's a bunch of, buffs. And they come back and goes, those women are men.
Really? Shit.
What a fun neighborhood.
I have another question. Hold on a minute. If you
we have a couple in there.
Hold on a minute. There we go. If you were the captain interviewing for a spot in the rescue, what would you ask your candidate?
Just pick I would say pick your best question you would like.
Yeah, or quality.
Oh yeah.
All right, Hash, you want to lead that off? You were the senior rescue guy there.
That's a tough one because everybody brings something different, and that's, you don't want everybody the same. You want different people, because if everybody's the same with the exact same experience, they're going to attack each problem the same way. You want people with different ideas and whatever. I would ask them, what are you bringing to this company that I don't have already? What can you do for me that I don't have already? And see what the kid says.
Yeah. For
Anybody
sure.
else want to chime in?
I would that's probably, that was the question I was going to ask, but right, what can you do for me and my company here? But I mean, the odds of getting somebody in the company with a talent that you don't already have might be slim to none. So if that person had a specific really good talent that I already had, one of my members had, I was like, what can you add to that? Is,
right,
any new technology or new, anything you might know that, and again, you know what, you're just looking to see if that person has the right attitude for your company, because you're gonna, they obviously have background that's bringing them there, or they wouldn't be coming.
That's not what rescue can do for you, but what you can do for the rescue.
Exactly, like President Kennedy. That's President Kennedy. But yeah, because you and your officers and your senior men are going to mold this person what you want to be the rescue man, and it's not going to be like it's pot luck, like you're getting this person out of probie school and maybe they don't want to be a firefighter, or they don't. This is somebody that's been in the trenches for a little while, realizes they like it and they want to do more. So they're trainable. It was just like you two sponge heads, coming from Queens and coming to the squad. You were like, you wanted more. Your heads were like sponges. Anything you could absorb, you would absorb. I mean, it took you guys longer to absorb things, but I was able to work with that.
Right. You know, according to what I thought you were going to ask the question that you asked me: is your old lady hot? And if so, can I see a picture of her? Didn't you ask us that? Right, Lou? Didn't he ask us that?
Something to that effect.
Something to that effect, right?
You're only getting nuggets unless I see, some cool.
I only share this information if I see some pictures of your old lady. All right.
I asked him, do you like a clean firehouse? That's what I would ask you.
Ah, Hazel.
All right, Joel, you're up.
Like I said, I think that dumb old question is, where do you see yourself in the company in a year or two? Do you think you're ready to, help the company out and keep the company going? Or are you looking to leave here? I think that's a big one I'd ask. I had nothing against guys on the promotional list coming because it saved me. When I was there, they came up with that great plan to have one guy from each rescue company go teach at the Rock right when I got there. So I figured I was screwed. But Terry decided that it was going to be somebody on the promotion list. So that saved me.
Good for Terry.
But what do you think where you'll be in a year or two in the company?
You know what? You bring up a good point, and you can tell I'm out of it for a while. But about the promotion, right? If you're a rescue captain, nothing against somebody that wants to be promoted, but why am I going to bring a guy that's maybe 100 names away on the lieutenant's list that I'm going to spend time trying to teach this guy, maybe get his skills to where I want him, maybe in a year, maybe not, and now you're gone.
Yep.
So on that aspect, that might be a good question too.
The guy's not even going to be in the firehouse because he's going to be going to all the classes and everything. All the
right. So it's kind of like they're coming in for a cup of coffee, and then it's like you want to have somebody that's going to, you don't care if he's in the company for 5 years and now starts studying, but somebody you want to bring somebody in that's trainable and is going to add to the company, the value of your rescue.
Not
company.
just going to use the R1 on his promoted out of R1.
Right, exactly.
No.
That's
exactly. Good attitude, a good fit too, as well, kind of a thing.
Right.
Yeah. You can.
That usually works.
Sorry, go ahead.
That usually works out on that 90-day try thing. Most of the guys that didn't stay, the captain didn't tell them to leave. They were leaving.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It doesn't happen often, but it does happen. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it
not
should.
for everybody. Yeah. Not for everybody.
Nope.
It's different.
If you like training and you like drilling and you like going further in the career, then that's for you. If you like sitting watching football, and not that we didn't do that at all, but that's the right attitude, the main focus.
Exactly.
You're in the wrong place.
Right. If you think you're going to go there and keep the couch from levitating by sitting on it, it's not the place for you.
No, exactly.
The recharger.
Just like Murph did with the kid. I'm not going to say his name. Who we're down doing the rig. We got all the new tools and everything, and he's up in the TV room, and Murph sat behind him for the whole movie. And then when he got up, he turned around, he saw Murph, and Murph goes, "Good movie, huh, bro?" Whoop, see ya.
See ya.
You're out. Out. All right, maybe 2 last questions. I got one here. Each rescue has sort of its own personality, right? Would you say that's correct?
Mm-hmm.
So where would Rescue 1 be, do you think?
Be one with what? A personality?
Like we would say Rescue 2, what, the ghetto rescue? They're heavy and fire duty, but same type of buildings. What would Rescue 1 be?
I would say the technical rescue.
You want me to answer that first? Or pass?
Yeah, it's out there. I'm just throwing it out there.
Well, I don't want to step on the senior guys. Paulie was there.
Go ahead.
I think like some of the reason that caused me to go there from Brooklyn was that it was the gentleman's rescue, but it was the technical rescue.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, to say they do no fire duty, that's just total bullshit. We went to a lot of fires because there's a lot of shit areas in Manhattan where there was plenty of fires. Then you also got your high-rise fires and your subcellar fires and your fires, which is where the subcellars were. A lot of those, and we've said it before, I'm going to say it again, a lot of fires in those buildings will humble you. So
Yep.
I would say it's the technical rescue.
Okay. That's what Louis said right on Jump Street, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, Rescue 3 used to be the collapse rescue, right? What would
Yeah.
you say?
Well,
What would you say?
I would say that's a gentleman rescue, actually.
That's
I
the.
would
No,
think
you go first.
Going along with what Hank said, that about one, I don't want to categorize the other companies per se, because they change as well.
Mhm.
One has changed. One changed in the time that I was there.
Yeah, obviously, yeah.
When I became a chauffeur, I was still doing things that linked all the way back to 1915, if you can believe it. The chauffeur, when I first got in 83, when I first got there, if there were 1045s on the radio, the chauffeur went to the victims with a resuscitator. By the time I left, the chauffeur wasn't doing that because there was CFRD engines. EMS got a lot better. There was excellent patient care on the fire ground. But back in 83, there wasn't excellent patient care on the fire ground, and rescue still had that as part of their responsibility. That you can go make this great rescue, but we got to get this person to stay alive.
Right.
So that changed. So Rescue 1 changed, but so did 2 and 3 and 4. And everybody changes as the boroughs and the fires around them change. I always was just attracted because it was the city. I don't know. It was the place to be to me. I didn't have any desire to be anywhere else except there.
Well, I mean, we go back to that little intro we made of yours, right? I've been in tanks. I've been on the bridges. I've been in. If anything happens, it's going to happen here.
You know, it's amazing that Hank and Joel and I all got to teach in a rescue school, and all the variations of the rescue school as it got better and better and better. I think the first time I ever met Joel, he was sitting at a little computer in one of the trailers at the rescue school.
Yeah, the trailers.
And I think Freddie was the captain at the time or whatever. But, oh, this is Joel. He's from 17. He's helping us with this. Hey, how you doing, kid? You know. And next thing I know, we're going over to the shit plant, the DEP building.
Yeah.
With those giant hoppers to do confined space. Like, that was one of the most amazing playgrounds to go train in.
Yeah.
And Joel and I ran it. His 2 firemen that ran the whole thing, and all those guys that went through. And then after 9/11, all those guys that went through. And it was such a stimulating thing, because as much as, and I always found that if you want to learn something, teach it, especially in something as dynamic as rescue work. That you have this thing, we know this works, pop, 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 and then some little guy comes up and he says, "Oh, what about that? Oh, wow, we never thought of that." You know, or just, why don't you turn it this way? All those little kind of things, and it just builds on itself, and that's the whole nature of rescue work. That's why the Firehouse kitchen is the most important room in the whole firehouse, because that's where you really, really learn. By guys just sitting like this and bullshitting and telling stories.
All right.
Well, yeah, Hank, you got something?
I mean, Paul has said it eloquently. The only thing that I can say that I've seen now, which is disappointing, the Firehouse kitchen used to be that place, and it still may be that place in some places. But now, when I walk in, and I mean, obviously, I'm not in New York anymore.
This thing.
I walk in down, and everybody, if they're there, they're all sitting on their phones.
Yeah.
There's no more talking going on. There's no more. It's like, you know, and you know, down here, I say to these guys, you got to put those phones down, take an hour talking to each other, and at least an hour of drilling. I mean, if nothing else, you have to do that.
Yeah.
Because that's like the social media thing is good for certain things, but it's killing what used to go on in the firehouse.
Yeah.
Was it Steve Elliott who mentioned that? There was a mandatory 1 hour, put your phone down and just commence at the kitchen table. Who was that? It was one of our
Steve
guys,
Elliott.
wasn't it?
Yep. Steve Elliott, Kappa 23.
You know,
It makes sense, right?
Yeah. Should be more than an hour. Man, I mean, kids can't not allowed to bring this phone to school anymore. I mean, leave them in your locker.
Well, one of the things that happened too, and I think all three of us, Joel, Hank, and I, when the change came to Rescue 1, but to all the rescues, when we went to high angle ropes, that was a big change in the fire service. All of a sudden, you go into kern mantle ropes, you go into all this equipment, all the specialized thinking, all this different stuff than we did before. You know, we used to kind of jam things to get them to work. And now we have to think a little more, and we have all this equipment. And we had the guys from Rocco that came, and they were great. And they taught us all sorts of wonderful stuff. And then once you sat back and you started making it work, you realized that what they did was wonderful, and they taught us a lot, but how they had us start isn't the way that we have to operate. Like, they had everything, a bag full of carabiners, a bag full of rope, a bag full of this, a bag full of that, and then build it when you get there.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's not going to work at 3 o'clock in the morning when it's pouring rain and you got to get some asshole out of somewhere that's stuck. You got to be able to slap this together. So we started doing our own stuff, building 4-to-1s and all the rest, and packaging it, doing this beforehand. And because I remember one of the first times we're doing it, Kenny Casman and I, it's a sleet storm. We're on the roof of a building. Some idiot was hopping from roof to roof. He's down in between the buildings. And it's 3 o'clock in the morning, and we're trying to count carabiners. It's pulley, like, to remember. No, you don't have to remember this shit. Pull it all out, slap it together, and go. And then some of the purists says, but that's how they taught us. Yeah, but you have to adjust and you have to adapt. And as you figure it out, we get better and better at what we do. I don't think there's anybody any better than Rescue 1 for high-angle rope stuff in an urban environment, because we learned what works and what doesn't. You know, I'm not saying that we're the best. Hopefully there's a whole bunch of people that are just as good as us, but we got better and better because we were smart enough to realize that what we learned is good. But you're out in the street, it's jazz. But you have to be able to change the tune to meet the situation. You just can't go in here and say, well, it always says you have to do A, B, C, D. Yeah, well, it's not going to work today because there's traffic and there's buildings and there's a storm and the real world comes in and starts tapping you on the head saying, it ain't going to work, stupid. Oh, you just dropped the only carabiner you have, and, try to find that.
And it will happen. It will happen.
So you learn how to do it, and you have to adapt. And that was going back to the question you're going to ask that kid. I don't expect him to come and change the company. I want to see how he's thinking. What's he thinking? I can get a whole bunch of guys that can pull ceilings, but I want to get somebody that's, when you can't pull ceilings anymore, what do you do next? Well, give the hook to the lieutenant.
Right.
You got to keep going, man. You got to solve your problem.
Got to evolve.
And that's what the fire service has always been good at. You're given something, and then how can we improve it and make it better or make it work better for us? Whether it was the Hearst tool back in the 70s, and then figuring out the rocker panel, the plate for the rocker panel to do the pushes, or rather than doing the chain. It was always the rabbit tool, adapting that kind of stuff. It's always been the fire service. And then you see, Kevin, and Louis, you get these guys with these inventions that come on, because that's what firemen do. We get that through our experience. Maybe you had a door that was breaking your balls, and what can we do to make this work better for us the next time? Mm-hmm. And you brainstorm it and you come up with something, but you can't do that if you're not talking about it back at the kitchen table.
Nope. All the time, right?
Because you're looking how many likes you got on whatever. That just doesn't work.
Yeah, so true.
Yep. So, any other questions in there, Tank? Gons?
I have two. One gentleman is asking, says he's not familiar with the rescue trucks, but he wants to know basically what it's like riding with the rear doors open, and do you guys still do it? Which I think they still do, but you guys obviously
they do
can touch on that, To me, I just related to riding the back step kind of a thing. But you guys, that was one question.
Doors got closed when it was cold and snowing.
Yeah.
So, and there was
I thought it was the coolest thing.
And they got opened if a cab was following too close
Yeah.
to the bumper, and you had to throw a battery at them. That was the best.
Yeah.
It was like opening the Bombay
The battery-
doors, and then the
The battery had to fall out.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Riding in the back of Rescue 1 through Times Square, you feel like a movie star. You feel like
Oh, man.
it's the greatest
Periscope
feeling in
up.
the world. Yeah, Periscope
well,
up.
Central Park lunch on a Saturday where they're roller
Oh.
skating.
There you go. I had a covering lieutenant say to me one time, "How come every time we go on a run, you drive through Times Square?" I said, "Because I can." Why not? This is the umbilical cord of the whole world. Everything branches out from here. They're all coming.
Right? Yeah. All right.
Amen.
What's the other one you got there, Guns?
the other one was somebody was just asking about the. I think you touched on it earlier about the not say rivalry, but the competitive amongst the rescues.
Well,
you know,
I
throughout
was
the
saying
city.
it's not really a competitive. They don't feel like it was a competitive thing, right?
Listen,
I think Paul was saying.
you're right. You should always feel that the company you're in is the best.
Yep.
You know,
If you don't leave,
right. But we all, let's face it, there's also a mutual respect. You know, and that comes because, you know what, tonight you come in, you may be working in Rescue 2, or they may be working in Rescue 1. And yes, do we break each other's balls? Yes, we do. You know, if they come to Manhattan, they, whatever. When I went back to Rescue 2, I would tell them, they always to give you the roof. So I'd say, all right, I can run up to the roof, jump off, and then go back to the next building. The land of small buildings, but that's what you did. But you know what? There was a mutual respect with all the rescues, and so sometimes a friendly rivalry, but when it came down to, you're in rescue services in the city of New York, even with the squads now. There's going to be jobs where you all, or at least half of your companies, are responding together. It's not going to be back in the years when we were fighting with ESU. You're in the same department, you do the same training, you work in each other's companies. So you all have to be able to, all right, figure out who's doing this job, who's doing that job, and have a happy ending, because we're all there to protect the people that we swore to protect.
Amen. Everybody loves a happy ending.
Guns, throw up 41.
41. Oh, hold on a second. 41. There you go.
No, 41.
Oh, my bad. That's 44. It's like
You're on
41.
the 41. You're on the 41.
Yeah, well, go ahead, Hash. You told him to pull it up. Give him the story.
Well, I asked somebody to take that picture. That was my camera. We just, I don't exactly remember why all three of us. It probably was something like a funeral or something that all three of us ended up in Rescue 3.
I think they had a company party and we were covering.
Maybe that was it. Yeah.
Right. So it was you, me, and Theobald.
Yeah.
Up there.
And we didn't turn a wheel. That's why we're all yawning. And,
Right.
Goose egg. We call that a goose egg.
Goose egg.
Well, again,
that's the fun of it, because it's the same mission, really. It's slightly different. 3 does it a little bit different. 2 does it a little bit different, but that's because they're in a different section of the city with a different history that goes on. And what's the most important thing? What's expected of them? Like the stuff that Rescue 3 did back when the Bronx was burning and saws were new. They revolutionized and helped revolutionize aggressive truck work on the roof. Trench cuts and aggressive ventilation and all that. The rescue companies were the first guys that had saws. And I remember seeing an old thing on the job, I think, with Dick Nagel back in the day, and they were sitting there and they were talking to some battalion chief up in the Bronx, and he says, well, what's a good trick that you like to do, Chief? And he says, well, I'll tell them it's in all hands even before everybody's there, because then I get the rescue and they're going to come with the saw and start opening the roof. And the 3 is noted for that, and they kind of wrote the book on that because they had so many of those big H buildings and all that kind of stuff. And, everybody contributes a little something to the overall game plan, and we all stick it in our bag. It all works. And the cool thing is, over the years, all the different guys that we worked with, all these great bosses that we were mentioning, Dennis Mojica and Terry and Brian O'Flaherty and all these guys, they all worked in all these different places. They worked in the South Bronx. They worked in all the different rescue companies, all the different trucks and engines, busy places. And they brought all that accumulated knowledge and added that to what you brought to every single job you went to.
Right.
And, you know, it was just amazing. I remember going to one little job with O'Flaherty when I'm pretty new, and things are going bad. We're up in the 11th Battalion. It was like, to me, it was old home week. I'm going back up into the neighborhood that I got broken into, and all of a sudden things are going bad. And he says, go in that apartment and get a door. So I run in, I pull a closet door off, and I go out onto the fire escape. I hold it up over a window where fire's coming down the hallway or out of the apartment, and I'm holding it up because they're evacuating people above, and I'm just holding that door. I made a shutter. You know, he told me to go get a door. I didn't think of it. I'm holding the thing up. And then that showed me, you know, how did he think of that? How did he know that? He heard a story from somebody else. And all of a sudden, it's like you just pass these things along, and you can use that how many times, or, you know, it's just wonderful, the creative thinking that goes with this job.
Or you can change it for another situation. You know?
Yeah.
And for the guys who weren't at that job, the way they learn about it is by not being on their phones at the kitchen table. That's where you trade the tidbits.
There you go.
There we go.
Yeah.
That's
all
right.
People said top 10 show.
We're at a limit.
2 hours, baby. You didn't think you
we
could
got to
do
do a couple. We got to do the.
What do we get overtime after this?
Yes, you do. Right after.
Wait and relief. Wait and
1
relief.
minute. Wait and relief. We'll put you in porthole to porthole.
All right.
Guys, play the new commercial by our buddy Tom. He's a squad
FD
one
collectors. Guy. Yes, here we go. Let me pull it up. All right, here we go.
Sponsored by the old school tip of the day, which we usually do, but today, this is where Tom's commercial is gonna fit in.
All right. Yes, here we go.
We at the Gettin' Salty Experience are excited to announce the launch of the New York City Collectors Club, a brand new spin-off of the FD Collectors Club dedicated exclusively to New York City firehouses. Here's the deal. No more worrying about stopping by a firehouse when the crew's out on a run, and no more rolling the dice on questionable patches and coins off eBay. With this club, everything you receive is 100% authentic, straight from New York City firehouses. And the best part? A portion of every subscription goes directly to firefighter charities each month. Now, because you're a part of the Gettin' Salty podcast community, you'll get 50% off your first month. That means you can join for just $14.99. All you have to do is use the code Gettin' Salty at checkout. So if you're a collector looking for something real, meaningful, and straight from the source while giving back to New York City's best and bravest, the New York City Collectors Club is for you.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
I like Tom. Tom's a good guy. Good
Hey,
stuff, one guy.
Paul and Hank, there's I guess Captain Flaherty's son. Just thank both of you for telling stories about his dad.
Oh, in the chat?
Right there.
Oh, wow.
Carrie, yeah.
Daughter, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Thank you, Paul and Hank, for all the stories with Dad. He loved you both.
Oh, thank you, Carrie.
It was our pleasure.
Awesome.
We loved you. We loved your dad, and
Good man.
taught us a lot.
Good chief.
I always said he was the smartest captain I ever had because he was smart enough to bring me to Rescue 1.
Oh, look at that.
Look at that.
Boom. I want to thank you guys for coming on such short notice. We only got to put this together last minute.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Do you have a health and safety tip, by the way?
Oh, I do.
A what?
Sorry, we got to remind Coobs we got one more
Thank you.
commercial.
I'm getting old. I'm sorry.
No, we look at this group here. Come on.
Yeah. Okay.
Right now, Lou has the darkest hair out of all of us.
The three of us could be part of that collectors group. They could sell us.
Little pieces. Little pieces. All right,
Lately used.
here we go.
The First Responders Center for Excellence is a not-for-profit organization dedicated to protecting the lives and livelihoods of first responders. Their education and research initiatives aim to bring greater awareness and understanding to the challenges to the health, safety, and well-being of firefighters, EMS personnel, and other first responders, too. They are an affiliate of the National Fallen Firefighter Foundation.
I got one here. Tonight's old school health and safety tip. A gift that keeps on giving. Wearing a dirty firefighting hood continues to contaminate the wearer every time it is donned. Clean your hood after every exposure to reduce your risk of cancer. Don't want the big C. You want to come back here to be able to see shows like this with the legends here. We got Joel, Paul, and senior dude Hank Molle, Gonzo, and Ruffy on his day after his birthday. Fantastic show. We really appreciate you guys coming on.
We got one shout out there, right, Gons?
Yes, we got a shout out? Okay.
We do. Unfortunately, we lost a brother from 111 truck.
Yeah.
Joseph Herman, killed in a motorcycle accident. I want to say it was on Long Island, right? I read the story, but this comes on the heels of another guy who was killed, about a month ago in a motorcycle accident up there as well. But I have a link here for you guys. They're looking in lieu of flowers. The FDNY Foundation has set up a scholarship fund for his child. 100% of the donations will go to his family. And the website I have here,
www.fdnyfoundation.org/donate.
Yes, I have it there. I'll put it in the chat.
I think he's got a young kid, like
a baby,
toddler. Yeah.
Yeah, he looks young himself, man. Good Lord.
He had 10 years on the job. I think he was the 30. He was on the lacrosse team. He was the
football
quarterback.
Here, the football and lacrosse team for FDNY for you guys.
Yeah, so if you could help out, FDNYfoundation.org/donate.
I'll put it in the chat as well. But that would be great.
Oh boy.
Yeah. Yep. And a lot of people were hitting us up a couple of times for Kenny Marino and his daughter. They wanted me to play the video.
Go watch A Cup of Joe and Fuego. I have it on there.
Okay, so you guys go. Okay.
Oh, also next week I will be down in the Jersey Shore at Wildwood in the paved parking lot. We're changing the spots now. We're not in the parking lot. We're in the paved area right in front of the whatever that is, the little auditorium or whatever they have it there, the center. So come check out me and my little Asian boys as we're hawking Louis' wares. And
Bruno Hagalugi and Ichi's Karachi.
Yeah.
Big summer blowout.
Blowout. Come on down to Wildwood.
And hopefully Lou and Coops, I'll see you in Wildwood.
Big summer blowout.
You know what, Joel? Text me the info. Louis just told me about that. I don't know if you had told me.
Oh, you need some vitamins, brother.
Yeah. All right. Send me the
evening of the 12th. It's a good fundraiser. Champo and Salka are speaking. It's at a bar, so you can have a few drinks. I'll even buy you a round or two.
I can't bring my kids, right? It's a bar.
Yeah, no, you can. It's a dinner place too.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Cool. All right. Cool.
All right.
Excellent. All right, guys. Thanks for joining us. I learned a lot tonight having these three guys on. As always, we'll see you next week. We got somebody. Until then,
take care, Leatherhead Nation.
Good night, everybody. We'll see you at the big one.
See you guys in the after show.
Yep, guys. We are rolling heavy. And remember what I tell you. I told us last time. I don't always watch podcasts, but when I do, I prefer the Get Salty experience.
Wow. That's what I like.
Salty, my friend.
Nice.
Oh, that's nice.
I borrow that. You guys can tell me where I got it from.
Oh, wait. We don't have a show next Thursday.
No, we don't.
9/11.
September 11th. Correct.
Right. All right. We'll see you the week after.
All right, guys. Have a good night, everyone.
Good night.